What's going on, everybody? We're back for another Acceptable Casualties Battle Report. Today we're taking another shot at Battlegroup. We're playing 400 points of the 3rd Canadian, taking on the 12th SS. We're playing High Ground. We'll be back in a second to go over the list and deployment. Alright, everybody. Here we are looking at our 3rd Canadian, our infantry division. Down here it's 400 points. I did get for this mission a medium machine gun bunker and a minefield to lay down on the table. I also get a trench line. I'll show you guys where I set that up for deployment. So down here I have my forward HQ 3-man team. Above them I have 1 infantry platoon. I have a Piat put into the command, a 2-inch mortar, 3 rifle squads. I ended up taking a battlefield medic, extra Piat, a Vickers machine gun, and then a medium mortar team. Down here I took a platoon of Shermans. It's a regular command Sherman, just a regular Sherman, and then a Firefly. I ended up taking a Bofors with a truck. I only had the Bofors self-propelled, so we're just going to play it as the truck, but it's just the model, so it's like a semi-proxy. And then over here I took 2 Dingoes for my recce. So this is 400 points. Be back in a second to go over the 12th SS. So here we have our 12th SS, 400 points. Vin has a battle rating of 24 as well. I forgot to mention that earlier. My battle rating for my list is 29 for the Canadians. So down here, Vin has a Panzer IV, a Panther. He has his command in a half-track. I believe they're upgraded with a... No, they don't have a Faust, right? Then Vin has a platoon of Panzer Grenadiers. Each one has a half-track. Each one of the rifle squads has been upgraded with a Panzer Faust, and the command team also has a Panzer Faust put into their squad as well. Over here, Vin also has an MG34 on a tripod and a supply vehicle. That's 400 points on the nose. Vin also had the Fanatic resistance. He rolled his D6 and he ended up getting a 2 on it. So like I said, Vin's battle rating is a 24. We'll be back in a second to go over the the deployment for High Ground. Be back in a flash. Okay, so we are back for deployment. First I will go over the defenders, which will be myself, and the objectives. So Vin was able to place 1 objective in his table half, which is going to be the little farmhouse, shed back over here in the in the farm area. The second objective that I ended up placing was going to be the farmhouse right here. And then the third objective, which was automatically placed, is the one on top of the hill. For my defenses, I put the medium machine gun bunker here on top of the hill with kind of a clear field of fire across the table. I placed my minefield down here right in the middle of the road, kind of cut down on the mobility coming up the center. And I didn't have a trench line, so what we're just calling the trench line is going to be the bottom lip going around the hill right there. So for my deployment, I have 2 rifle teams that are employed on that trench line. I have my medium mortar team back here. Second floor, I have a Vickers. On the first floor, I have another rifle squad. Back there, I have my Firefly. Down here, I have my Bofors. And then over here, I have my Sherman. I was able to get 5 units in ambush this turn, so it's going to be the Sherman, the Bofors, the medium machine gun nest, the Firefly, and then the Vickers on the second floor. For Vin's deployment, he has his Panzer IV, and then he has 3 half-tracks. They are loaded up with a rifle and then a MG34, rifle squad MG34, and then the command team coming on the table. For Vin's reserves, he has coming in, what is turn 4 for you, Vin?
Yeah.
Turn 4, he has a second wave, so everybody comes in turn 4. He'll have the supply wagon. He'll have another half-track with a rifle and light machine gun team. Another half-track with his command, and then the MG34 on a tripod, and his Panther coming in on turn 4. For my guys, I had half my guys come off. They'll be coming in reserves as well. So I have both of my Dingoes will be coming in reserves, 1 of my Shermans. I have a Piat, a medic, the 2-inch mortar, my commander, and then another rifle squad. And they'll be coming in D6 units for turn 4. So this is what we're looking at for deployment. For High Ground, we'll be back in a second. Vin has first turn. We'll see how it goes. Be back in a flash. So we are back for the top of turn 1 for the 12th SS. In this turn, I think went pretty good for Vin overall. So Vin ended up moving up his 3 half tracks along this flank over here. I was able to pop my ambush that I had with the Bofors. I fired a bunch of HE to try to pin this first half track, but I ended up missing both shots. So unfortunately, they were able to shoot up, with no issues at all. And the other 2 half tracks pushed up behind those woods as well. Vin also pushed his Panzer IV up to the top of the hill here. I had 2 chances to hit him with the Sherman. I also tried to fire some HE to kind of pin him down, but I missed on both of those as well. So then Vin was able to get 1 shot off, and he was able to pin the Vickers on the 2nd floor with some HE fire in that building over there. So we'll be back in a second for the bottom of turn 1 for the Canadians. So we are back for bottom of turn 1 for the Canadians, and things were pretty good here in a totally awesome way. They shouldn't have, but they did. So I ended up rolling boxcars for my orders dice, which gave me 12. Obviously, I really wasn't able to do anything, so I pretty much just got everybody ambush here because nobody was really in range to shoot or effectively shoot at this point. So I gave everybody an ambush order except for my mortar back here. Down here on Vin, I knew it was a long shot, but I decided to do it. So it's a range in. I ended up getting, I ended up scattering and moving like 10 inches away. So I barely clipped Vin's tank. And on the first roll, I rolled double ones and immobilized his Panzer IV. Vin failed his cover save because we're calling this soft cover up here on a wooded hill. So Vin's Panzer IV is immobilized by my medium mortar. Pretty awesome. Second attempt, I ended up just kind of dinging off the side and didn't do any damage. That's all that really happened here, but kind of getting that Panzer IV out of the fight this early. Well, not out of the fight, but aggressively out of the fight was a pretty huge deal. So we'll be back in a second for the top of turn 2 for the Germans. Let's see what happens with those half tracks. Be back in a flash. So we are back for top of 2 for the SS. Oh man, this turn could have went really bad for me, and it actually ended up going out pretty good. So down here, Vin ended up rolling 4 orders. So what he did was with the Panzer IV over here, he decided to take 2 shots down at my Sherman that's tucked behind that fence line right there. So what Vin ended up doing in his first shot, he pinned me with an HE round. I was in ambush, so it didn't matter. So I ended up being pinned with ambush. Then Vin hit me again on a 6 with an AP round. He ended up just getting a glancing hit. So for my morale to see if I ended up getting pinned again or I just had to roll it, I ended up rolling a 6, and then I passed my my Beyond the Call of Duty test, and I fired 2 rounds back at Vin, but I ended up missing on both of those. So it could have been a pretty ugly exchange, but nothing happened there. For Vin's half tracks on this side, he ended up pushing them up to the forest here. But since he had such a low order count, he decided to keep them in the half tracks because he wants to kind of get these guys placed in the forest over here and I think get ready for a big assault middle of the game. So that's all we're looking at here for the top of turn 2. We'll be back in a second for bottom 2 Canadians. So we are back for bottom turn 2 for the Canadians. In this turn, I ended up rolling an 8 for my orders, which gave me, I think it was like a 9. It didn't really matter. There wasn't much I could do with it anyway. So started off down here. I figured I'd test my luck with firing down at Vin down there. So I ended up ranging in, or observing him twice, but I ended up needing 6s with my AP to hit him. I ended up missing on both of those. So Vin lives to fight another day down here. Everybody else ended up staying in ambush. Except for the Firefly. I ended up pushing him up around the back side of that house over there. He's kind of holding the fort down on that side of the table. And then back there with the mortar, I was able to range in again, pass my comms test. I had 2 shots again on Vin, and then I just failed to get anything. I needed 11s, I think, to even get like a glancing hit on him, I think. So yeah, we'll be back in a flash for the top of turn 3 for the SS. Only one more turn, and then Vin gets the second wave to come in, so we'll be back in a flash. So we are back for top of turn 3 for the SS. Vin ended up getting like 8 or 9 orders, which was way more than what he needed for what he wanted to do. So Vin decided to disembark all of his guys up into the woods here. He kept them off the lip of the woods, so we're calling that, we're not able to see him until he actually makes his way out of the woods or to the actual lip of the woods. So he's kind of stuck, tucked in there, I think waiting to make his push. And then down here with his Panzer IV, the shootout with the Sherman over there in the fields continues. Vin fired 2 shots, but he ended up biffing on both of them. So both of these tanks are running a little low on ammo. Hopefully somebody will get a winning result in a second. So we'll be back for bottom of turn 3 for the Canadians. Kind of just get positioned and get ready to weather the storm. So we'll be back in a flash. We are back for the bottom of turn 3 for the Canadians. Nothing too fantastic happened this turn, just kind of a lot of positioning. We kind of just moved some guys around a little bit, so we ended up pushing up our command team into the trench line along the lip of that hill right there. Over here, we pushed up our Firefly to kind of get behind the stack of logs. We're calling it hard cover because it is giant things of timber. So that's what we're calling it. We're calling it hardcover. So I ended up moving up. I took 1 pot shot down here at Vin's Panzer. I ended up missing. So that was that. And then up there, I had the Sherman. I figured I'd fire 2 last shots down here to kind of see how things go. And I ended up biffing on both of those. That's really all that happened here. I'm kind of just waiting for Vin to get out and start making his push. So we'll be back in a second for the top of turn 4 for the 12th SS. Vin has a second wave coming in, so we'll be back with a little more action, hopefully. So we are back for the top of turn 4 for the SS. Pretty decent turn. So Vin's second wave came in, but he only had 6 orders for his army. So what he opted to do was he brought his Panther in and tucked him in the woods over here. Down over here with the Panzer IV, he was able to pin the Firefly with his last HE round that he fired into them, so that was pretty huge down there. Then down here, Vin ran out one of his small machine gun teams, but he ended up getting gunned down by machine gun fire from the bunker that's up on top of the hill over there. The second platoon that came out over here, they were shot at by the rifle team that was in that building over there, and they took a casualty, and then they got pinned. And then these guys ran out, and then they got lit up by the Beaufort that was here. They were pinned. They took 2 casualties, but on Vin's morale test, he rolled a 6, and then he passed his beyond the call of duty, which gave them 2 shots. So they ended up firing a Faust down here. They ended up pinning the Sherman, which was pretty huge, and then with his second action from the open fire, he ended up taking out one of the guys on the Beaufort team back here, but I passed my morale and I was okay. Over here, these guys ran out of the woods, and with their 1 firing action, they fired at the Sherman with the Faust as well, but they ended up bouncing the round off the side. So that's all that happened here for top of turn 4. Pretty good turn for the Germans pushing out of the woods. We'll see if I can end up doing some damage on these guys that popped out, so we'll be back in a flash. So we are back for bottom of turn 4. This turn I was only able to get 1 reserve in. That was my Dingo. And then for my orders, I only had 6 orders go off, so I had to make everything count this turn. So between machine gun fire from the medium machine gun nest, my command team, this rifle team, the rifle team on the first floor over there, and some mortars, I was able to pin all of these units and do some minor casualties. Vin actually looked pretty good as far as his morale checks go, but and you know, like I said, didn't take a lot of damage as far as casualties go, but just a lot of pins. So that's all that really happened here. I also was able, with my last order, I put the Beauforts back in ambush, and then I decided to take a chit and remove my pin markers. I ended up rolling a 5, so I was able to take the pin marker off of the Sherman down here, the Firefly up over there, the Vickers in the second floor. So I'm good as far as pins go at this point. So we'll be back in a second for top of turn 5 for the Germans and see if Vin's push starts to get rolling here. So we'll be back in a flash. So we are back for top of turn 5 for the Germans. Pretty good turn for Vin over here. So Vin was able to get 8 orders with his dice roll, which is kind of enough to get things rolling down here. So Vin decided to push up his supply wagon to get these guys a resupply order next turn. The Panzer over here tried taking a pot shot at the Firefly but missed, and then tried to pin down the Vickers in the second floor and also missed that. So he's out of ammo, but like I said, he has that resupply coming up next turn. The Panther was able to move up to the lip of the forest right there. He was able to fire down at the Firefly, but he ended up missing his shot as well. Down here, one of the half-tracks carrying the MG34 on the tripod and the command team. Ended up moving up over here behind the hill. With the rest of Vin's orders, he started to push up his half tracks over here. With the combined fire from the half tracks, he was able to take out the Bofors over here. And with his command team from the Panzer Grenadier platoon, with his last order, he pushed up. He got within firing range with that Faust, and it was enough to blow up the Sherman sitting back here. So Vin did enough to kind of crumble the defenses along this this side of the farm over here. He also took a chit to unpin all of his infantry units right down here. So Vin's he's looking in pretty decent shape to start to make a push on one of these objectives on that side of the table. So we'll be back in a second for bottom turn 5 for the Canadians. I got to get some reserves on the table here and strengthen my defenses. So we'll be back in a flash. So we are back for bottom of turn 5 for the Canadians. In this turn I rolled 2 for my reserves, so I brought in my extra Sherman and then another rifle platoon on that side. For my orders, I think I had like 11. It was enough to get everybody to do something. So we'll just we'll start down here. So first we ended up dropping a mortar down here, and we were able to pin 2 units over here, the command team, and there was a team that was over there. Between just a boatload of machine gun fire, between pretty much everything you see, the Vickers, the rifle team there, the rifle team here, command team, the machine gun bunker, we had the Dingo and the Sherman. Everybody fired machine gun shots down here. We were able to kill one base, we were able to pin another base, and we were able to rip down the command team down to 3 guys as well. So that was a lot, yeah. And then Vin ended up pulling a chit for losing, I think, this rifle team right here. He ended up getting the air support to come in next turn for him. So that could be bad news for me if that ends up happening. Up over here as well with my Firefly. Started getting into the shootout with the Panther tucked in the woods over there. I was able to zero in on him twice, but I missed both shots. I think I needed a 6. It was a 5 or a 6. Either way, I think I rolled like a 2 and a 3. So nothing ended up happening down there on this turn. So we'll be back in a second for top of turn 6 for the Germans. Vin got a birdie coming in, and then he's going to have to probably support some of this attack on this side, because I don't know if there's enough really to make a move on any of these objectives. So we'll be back in a flash. So we are back for top of turn 6 for the Germans. In this turn, not that good for Vin. Vin ended up only rolling 4 for his orders, plus with the guys that were on the table. I think I only gave him 5. So what ended up happening this turn, Vin ended up using his wagon over here to resupply the Panzer IV that was up here. With his other 2 actions, he fired with the Panther and the Panzer IV down at the Firefly, but Vin was not able to get a 6. I think with the AP shells, the way we're shooting right now at distance and everything else is factored in with being obscure, we all need 6s to hit each other. So it's definitely a crapshoot at this point for that tank battle. Down here, Vin pushed up with his half track and ended up dismounting over here, getting these guys into the woods. And then back over here, Vin tried to pin the bunker up there, but failed to do so. For his air support that came in also this turn, Vin ended up rolling like a 1 or a 2, so no planes. Vin's also taking a chip right now to unpin these units here. So that's all that happened for the top of turn 6, so we'll be back in a second for bottom 6 for the Canadians. Hopefully we can get the last of our reserves in over here, so we'll be back in a flash. So we are back for bottom of turn 6. For this turn, I was able to get all my reserves. I rolled like a 6 on my reserve dice. Pretty much was enough to get everybody left. I think I had like 4 units. And then for my orders, I rolled an 11. I had a 9, then plus 2. So I was able to do a decent amount here to kind of get guys in position. So what I ended up doing was I put my bunker in ambush over here. Down here with my Firefly, I fired 2 shots down into the Panther down there. I ended up zoning in on him twice, but I failed to hit. I need 6s, so it's going to be rough. What I ended up doing with some of my other orders was, on this flank, I pushed my infantry and Dingo up into these woods over here. I moved a bunch of my support units up onto the hill or around the hill to try to get these guys in a better place as far as supporting this part of the table over here. The Sherman, I fired 2 shots down. I was able to blow up the 1 half track that fired last turn, so Vin had to pull a chit for that. And then pretty much everything else. There wasn't a lot of firing this turn. It was a lot of, like I said, a lot of moving. I tried to get a mortar round off down here, but I ended up scattering it off the table. I ended up getting like a wild 4 dice scatter, so didn't work too well on that one. And like I said, not a lot of machine gun fire as far as anything else went. More positioning this turn. So we'll be back in a second for top of turn 7 for the Germans, and we'll see what happens. Be back in a flash. So we are back for top of turn 7 for the Germans. Pretty good turn for Vin over here. Vin ended up getting, what, like 9 or 11 orders, somewhere in there. It was enough to get a lot going. So what ended up happening was, we'll take it to this side of the table. Vin's Panther, to start it off, was able to fire down on his first shot, and he ended up blowing up the Firefly I took back here. He observed it and then rolled a 6, and then just punched through my armor. I wasn't able to make the save. Up over here on this side, Vin ended up pushing those guys up along the fence line over there to kind of loop around. Down over here, Vin tried moving these guys up. I ended up popping my ambush from that machine gun nest. I was able to kill one and pin the unit. These guys also pushed up. They tried to pin the Vickers, but they failed to do that. I think, who else did you try to pin the Vickers with, Vin? Oh yeah, between the Panzer IV and a ton of machine gun fire, Vin tried to pin the machine gun nest back here with the HE rounds, machine gun rounds, everything. But I had that 2-up save, and Vin didn't have that good a dice as far as even observing or hitting them in the first place. So that's pretty much all that happened this turn. Like I said, the Firefly got blown up, a lot of maneuvering and just kind of spray and pray, but nothing really hit. So we'll be back in a second for the bottom of turn 7. See if I can start plucking out some of these infantry teams that are floating around out there. So we'll be back in a flash. We are back for bottom of turn 7. Decent turn for us, not too shabby. So it was a lot of positioning. Started taking up some defensive positions along this flank over here, move some guys around. Then we opted to start firing down over here and do a little bit of damage. So as you can see, this unit down here took some casualties, was pinned. The 5-man unit next to them also took a bunch of casualties. They were pinned and they ended up breaking off the table. With actually, did I kill them to a man? I did kill them to a man, yeah. Then down here we had some shots from the Sherman up there, the small mortar, the large mortar. We fired down here. We weren't able to really do any damage. We also tried to do some machine gun fire. What else? Did we fire into these guys? No, we didn't. We used the Dingo for ambush to kind of try to bait Vin into either moving out and shooting or doing some firing with its half tracks. So that's all that really happened here for the bottom of turn 7. We'll be back in a second for top of turn 8 for the Germans to see what Vin's going to end up doing here. So we'll be back in a flash. So we are back for top of turn 8 for the Germans. A pretty decent turn for Vin as far as getting everything pushed up and ready to go. So he started rolling his Panther up to the middle of the fields right there. I really don't have an answer for him at this moment right now. Vin also just dumped a ton of assets between the Panther. How many orders you had? Well, orders you had like 11, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So Vin had a bunch of orders to burn here too. So between the Panther and then the half tracks that you just saw there, like there's just a ton of machine gun fire to try to pin the Vickers up there, and Vin just going to get anything to drop on the Vickers, so he's still live firing action over there. Up over here, Vin tried to push up the half track and pin the Dingo over here, but failed. This guy ended up swinging around the tank to try to get a foul shot off. I had him in ambush, so I was able to pin the unit right there, but then these guys ended up jumping up, and they had a Faust attached to them as well, and Vin was able to hit him and blow up the Dingo right there. So pretty good taking that side of the table. So Vin has this side of the table under control right now, but we got to see if he has enough to make a push on that hill. So that's pretty much all that happened. That was kind of interesting this turn. We'll be back in a second for bottom of turn 8 for the Canadians. We are back for bottom of turn 8. For this turn, I ended up getting 7 orders. And pretty much my first firing order, my Sherman over here, was able to fire down and boop, blow up Vin's half-track over here, which forced Vin to pull a chit and ended up breaking his company with his battle rating. So it's going to be the end of the game. A victory for the Canadians. We were able to hold the hill. I ended up finishing, I had a battle rating of 14 left, so I was looking pretty good. Vin had some tough pulls, but we'll be back in a second to go over the end of game recap and kind of go over the battle plan and how things worked out. So we'll be back in a flash. All right, so we're back for the end of game recap. It was a victory for the Canadians. We'll kind of go over, I guess, my deployment first and what I was looking at for the defense, and then we'll go into what Vin's thoughts were for his attack. So we did kind of thematic objectives. So obviously the hill was taken. Figured the next best thing that probably people would be fighting over would be this house over here, the entrance to the farm, and then the next thing possibly on the table would have been that structure down there. We could have made an argument for the road coming up, but that's kind of what we thought for the three objectives over here. So for my defense, what I was thinking was obviously secure the hill. I had all my defenses here. I had a pretty clear lane going down that road as far as clear lanes of fire for any infantry that might have tried to push up the middle if Vin went that route. The putting the minefield here too. I was doing this to kind of take Vin's speed away with his half tracks, because if he would have been on the road, he would have been able to get up in my face pretty quick. So I kind of put that there to prevent him from just ripping up the table and making this a close range firefight pretty early in the game. So that was kind of my thoughts for setting up my defenses. What I also was thinking about doing as well was I had the Firefly originally tucked back here. What I wanted to do was to see what Vin was going to be doing with that Panther, and he did kind of what I thought. I thought he was going to push that Panther, maybe some other infantry up this side over here. My thoughts were I was able to punch that Panther out. I was going to use the Firefly to stay in this position and kind of duel it out with that Panzer IV over there while I pushed that infantry and that Dingo up and try to take that objective on that side of the table and make Vin pull a chit and then kind of try to control over here, maybe push around the back and flank his guys. But once Vin ended up popping the Firefly with the Panther, it was kind of tough to pull that up. I wouldn't have been able to do it. I had nothing here to really take out the Panther. Except for some Pias that I pushed up behind the house right there. But like I said, we were still a couple turns away from that happening over here. As far as things went for Vin over here, man, I don't know. Vin got up to here, and we were just talking about it off camera, with the infantry and everything. Like, he had everything set up perfect here, and then just that one lucky mortar round immobilizing the Panzer IV on top of the hill here was absolutely huge. Like that it changed the tempo of the game early because Vin wasn't able to push up with the Panzer, so he essentially just had a mobile, not even a mobile turret, just a turret back here with a supply truck just feeding it ammunition, just dumping rounds all through the table. I mean, that's all I could have done. I think if the Panzer would have gotten to up here and Vin would have had between the Faust and the Panzer IV, I think it would have been really tough for the Sherman to hold this flank as long as he did, and if that would have crumbled early with the tank rolling in through here, this game might have been a much different story as far as close combat fighting or just short-range firefights. Vin would have had the half-tracks over here with the machine gun teams and the Panzer IV all kind of gunning down to that hill, and at that point in the game, I would only have the Sherman to really answer the call because that Firefly would have been engaged with the Panther and giving up flank shots to any Fausts or the Panzer IV coming up over here. So I think immobilizing that Panzer IV was a huge, huge deal for me early in the game. It kind of let me solidify my defenses a little bit better along this back row over here and kind of concentrate on the on just holding the infantry off on this side and just having to just delay that Panther coming up on the flank over there. But I don't know, Vin, what do you think as far as how your attack plan went and what you were trying to do on the table?
I like how it went. Definitely the Panzer, that hurt so
that
bad.
Was yeah,
that was terrible.
Like what you were trying to do, I thought was after I realized how you were going to push, I thought it was going to work out well, and then just lucky mortar round.
Yeah,
that one mortar round. That's all it was, man. Double ones.
I brought everybody in here. Obviously, my main idea was to literally just push everybody along this fence line, and just kind of have my tanks go more up the middle. So like
around the minefield.
So I pretty much wanted to get to where your mortar was and kind of come in from behind that to take away your trench line.
Oh yeah.
That was my. That's why I kept them pushing the lower half of the table the whole time with the infantry.
Yeah, down here.
Yeah, instead of like when I pushed, like when they came out here, instead of going straight for that trench line, I was just like, I'm just going to get friggin' slaughtered.
Yeah, well, you were walking into a machine gun bunker. I mean, I had the Vickers with the crossfire up there, all the rifle team. Oh, yeah, if you would have went through, this is a meat grinder set up right here. That was kind of the idea of, I mean, I think your best bet was to push deep around this way over here, but you just kind of ran out of guys and didn't have enough of support to really make that move.
And I think, I'm sure everybody notices this just watching, I think if they would have actually been, the tank would have been there to support my infantry, that would have actually, I think I could have actually gotten my infantry out of there because, I mean, you would have had to either ignore the Panzer IV, which is just shooting HE rounds and everything under the sun at you.
Yeah, you could have definitely pinned them. You could have kept the guys in the half tracks as well because you wouldn't have had as much to worry about as far as anti-tank assets on that side of the table. I think the Panther for you as well, like, not that he got hung up, but the amount of time that shootout went out with the Firefly, I mean, it was a couple turns of just throwing dice back and forth at each other, kind of slowed that down. I think if he would have been able to get up the table maybe a turn or two earlier, it could have changed change a little bit of the effectiveness. But not like I had a lot to shoot at, but I mean, I would have had to push some stuff up to kind of support that objective over there, so I didn't take any morale hits.
And I was thinking about actually, which I don't know why I went against it, because it probably would have made a lot more sense. I was actually going to have the entire army just...
just flood one side, I mean?
flood one side and go for it, but I figured kind of try to separate your Firefly from my half-tracks, which is why I set the Panther.
Yeah, like I said, losing the Panther over there one-on-one, I'll take the Panther against the Firefly any day of the week at that. Like, that was a pretty good matchup. Yeah, like I said, it was a fun game. I think we got most of the rules. I don't say we got most of them right. I think we did actually most of them right. We probably had some kinks in the road. But, like I said, if you guys enjoyed the battle report, any tips for how we played it? Like I said, we tried to use more suppression. I mean, I know you guys mentioned that a lot over on the Facebook page and in the comments a little bit. So we tried to use suppression a whole lot more this game, and it did make a pretty huge difference as far as getting some of the rules right, too, for mortars, movement for infantry, tightened up a little bit, and then like I said, the how to use suppressive fire properly. It did make a pretty huge difference in the game. The game actually went a lot faster as well, now that we're getting a little more comfortable with the rules. So like I said, if you guys liked it, leave some comments, like, subscribe, all that jazz. Let us know what you guys thought, some tips as far as playing the game too. Like I said, this is only our second game in, so we got a lot to learn. So like I said, thanks for watching. We'll catch you guys later.